So, Paula, why are you against the 10 pass? Huh? Because I asked my doctor and he told me that this is the best and the most powerful ozone treatment ever. Well, your doctor spent 10 years or more studying something that is the third leading cause of death. So please go ahead and tell me everything that your doctor told you. I'm Paula, the crazy ozone lady from thepowerofozone.com, and actually no one asks me questions in this manner. This was just me goofing around a little bit, but many people do ask me all sorts of questions. And so recently somebody posted, "Hey Paula, I'm glad I saw this because the Tempest sounded exciting, but it sounds like it could be dangerous and has risks and is overhyped, as I'm suspecting the same with NAD+. A lot of hyped up, unproven claims. So do you recommend avoiding all IV ozone or just the 10 pass?" So this has been posted underneath an article where I point out some of the potential side effects of the 10 pass. And so this type of question comes up every now and then. And I assume this is because I wrote a number of articles and I also post on social media where I point out some of the problems with the 10 pass and the known side effects, and just the hype surrounding the 10 pass, and where I have basically expressed my opinion on this, which is a little critical about the 10 pass. But this does not mean that I am against the 10 pass, and it certainly does not mean that I'm against all types of ozone IVs. I mean, in the end, I wrote a whole book about one type of ozone IVs, namely DIV, direct intravenous ozone treatments. So I am absolutely not against the 10 pass at all. What I am against is the hype that is surrounding the 10 pass. So I believe that there are many unproven claims. There is this idea that this is the most effective, the most powerful, the best ozone treatment, and this is really the only treatment that even makes sense to do when it comes to ozone therapy. And if you're treating something serious like Lyme disease or some other serious conditions, then you have to do the 10 pass and nothing else but the 10 pass will help, and so on and so forth. And many of those claims are just that, just claims, because it is important to understand that there is not one scientific paper, there is not a single experiment that has been performed with the 10 pass. So what people rely on are just claims and proclamations by ozone doctors that sell the 10 pass. So it is in their vested interest to make such overhyped claims to attract more customers. I'm also against people not being informed about the side effects of heparin. So heparin is an anticoagulant which is absolutely necessary to perform the 10 pass. Now there are some exceptions, so I have heard of practitioners who either don't use heparin or they use other solutions, but those are extremely rare cases, and those other solutions, they come also with side effects. And some of those side effects and risks of those other solutions, they may be actually greater than heparin. And it's also important to remember that heparin, it's not a synthetic drug. So this is a natural drug. It's derived from animal parts, mostly from pigs. So heparin has a long list of side effects, but most of them are benign and transient. The problem here is that those side effects are often used by practitioners to mislead their patients. So a patient does a 10 pass. They then develop things like, for example, joint pain, headaches, abdominal swelling, fever, chills. They go to their doctor, they report those side effects, and the doctor then says, "Oh yes, this is a Herxheimer reaction. This is a sign that a treatment is working. This is a sign that the ozone is killing off some pathogens. You need to continue with the treatment." And here's the thing, it is absolutely possible that that's the case. But it is also equally possible that those are just simply side effects that patients develop to the heparin, because everything that I just listed and more are known side effects to heparin. So it is for a doctor, it is impossible to tell after a 10 pass whether those side effects are because of the ozone or because of the heparin. Now, here's the thing. As I said, most of the side effects of heparin, they are temporary. So heparin washes out relatively quickly, within a few hours, maximum a day or two. And most of the side effects are not a contraindication to continue with the 10 passes. So for example, brown urine. Brown urine is a very common side effect to heparin. But if you develop brown urine after a 10 pass, this is not a reason to stop the 10 passes. So most side effects of heparin are non-problematic. In some rare cases, heparin can create a condition that is called heparin-induced thrombocytopenia, which is basically the lack of thrombocytes. People who have thrombocytopenia are at an increased risk of developing bleeding. So that means that just a minor cut can then produce profuse bleeding, and this can become pretty serious. But this is also quite rare with heparin. Nonetheless, it exists. But what I find much more problematic is the misleading of patients. So whether this happens intentionally or not, I don't know. In some cases it may be intentional, in other cases not. But I believe that every doctor who administers a prescription medication, or really anything, so whether it's natural or whether it's synthetic, whether it's a pharmaceutical or not, has the responsibility to first of all inform himself about the possible side effects of this medication, and then to pass the information about the side effects on to his patient. And since heparin is prescription medication, it is clear that it has side effects, and actually it has a whole long list of side effects. So I believe that it is irresponsible, unethical, and negligent of a doctor to not know them and to not pass this information on to his patient, but instead leave the patient in the belief that something may be happening that in reality is not. Now, I also admit that some patients may have actually received this information from their doctor, but they were simply not paying attention or just forgot about it. So I believe that this thing goes also both ways. That if you're a patient, you also have the responsibility to inform yourself about what is going into your body. I'm also against doctors who create unrealistic expectations in patients when it comes to the 10 pass. So I believe many patients think that when they just do a series of 10 passes, so if they do an intensive treatment, an intensive course of 10 passes, spend a lot of money, if necessary, travel to another country, then yes, it will be quite a hardcore treatment and very intensive. They may even damage some of their veins, but after that they will be basically reborn and brand new, and all the health problems will go away, or they will feel a dramatic improvement. So I'm also against that, because the fact of the matter is that many people do the 10 pass and they actually, some of them don't feel any improvement. Some feel just a minor improvement of like 20 or 30%. And afterwards they remain very disappointed. So I'm also against that. I'm also against creating unrealistic expectations in patients. I'm also against people spending unnecessarily huge amounts of money on the 10 pass. Even if you're a multi-gazillionaire, and even if you could do a 10 pass every day for 10 years and it would make absolutely no dent in your bank account whatsoever, I simply don't think that this is necessary. In many cases, all you need is just a simple major autochemotherapy, or maybe ozonated saline IV, or maybe a DIV, which costs a fraction of the money that the 10 pass typically costs, because the 10 pass currently goes for anything between, I believe, $500 to $1,200. So you can do a series of minor intravenous ozone treatments and get the same effect. I know a number of people who had both the 10 pass done and the DIV, and they report that they felt much better, and they saw greater gains, and they felt it was much more effective when they did the DIV. Now the DIV, just a fraction of the ozone is used that is used for the 10 pass, and yet they say that they felt a bigger boost in energy and just a bigger benefit after the DIV than after the TANPAS. And this is, by the way, also my experience. So I have received one TANPAS in my life, but a number of multi-passes. But I have done hundreds of DIVs on myself. And I have to say that the DIVs, they produced in me a much bigger, much better effect. Now, different people react differently. So my experience or the experience of those other people who say that DIV was more effective, so this may not be representative for everyone. But such cases exist. So this shows you cannot make such a blank statement that the TANPAS is the most powerful, the best, the most effective treatment, and so on and so forth. So if you are well informed, if you have realistic expectations, if you understand the side effects of heparin, if you have informed yourself about the possible side effects of the anticoagulant, if you understand that it is absolutely possible that you will end up spending thousands of dollars on the TANPAS and not feel significantly better, and if you are fine with this and still want to go ahead and do the TANPAS, then by all means, go ahead and do it. You're an adult, you make your own decisions, you're well informed, you know about the pros and cons. You know, this is what I am for. So I am against the hype, the misinformation, the misleading of patients, but I am for being informed, having realistic expectations, knowing the side effects of heparin. Because it's absolutely true that there are many, many people who have received the TANPAS and who are better, who swear by the TANPAS, who love the TANPAS, who say that the TANPAS changed their life, that it was the single best thing that they ever did in their life. Those people exist, so this is real. But there is also a considerable number of people who did not see any effect, who developed all the side effects and were misled, and they feel they spent a lot of money on something that wasn't worth it. As long as people are informed about the side effects of heparin, as long as they have realistic expectations, then I have absolutely nothing against the TANPAS. Take it for what it's worth. Those are my useless 2 cents on the topic. Now, much more important than that is to always keep it pink at all times and go eat a steak. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video. Bye bye.